want to welcome you to another episode of What is the Premise? And today, I want to introduce myself. My name is Bohdan, and I'm the pastor at Santa Lutheran Church. And this is my friend and colleague. Are we friends still?
Absolutely.
All right, Pastor Paul Bieber.
Even after the last one.
All Saints Lutheran in San Diego. I mean, there's so many saints, it's all of them.
We got them all.
Have you counted up how many there are?
It's more than you can count.
Or does it mean that everyone who is there?
In the sky.
Oh man, that's
See
good.
if you can count
That's
them.
biblical. Well, I mean, you better bring a lot of food if you got that. Jesus fed 5,000.
That's very good.
Oh, see, it was a good turn there. Jesus fed 5,000, and so food has been a part of what Jesus did with people.
Not counting women and children.
That's right, not counting women and children. And so there was a big crowd. Moses, feeds the people. Well, technically, God feeds the people in the wilderness for 40 years. Could you imagine having a potluck every day and it was only manna and quail?
Well, you can see why they murmured.
Well, I know we had, what we, brought every potluck. Today we're talking about churches and potlucks and this idea of where do you think that word potluck comes from? Do you feel lucky when you go to a potluck?
Well, it's whatever's in the pot, right? And did you get lucky? You won't know till you see what's in that pot.
Oh, I love it. I just feel sad because my dad, when I was a kid, my dad used potlucks as a way to train us in patience. Can you guess if we got to go first or last?
Oh, no, of course. You got to go last.
Oh, man, my dad, every time I was a little kid and I would come with my plate, because, at First Lutheran in Bemidji, we had to have our plate and our, silverware I think we were able to use, but you had to bring your own plates and stuff. And we brought it.
And you brought your own plate from home.
You had to bring your own plate.
Wow.
And I believe we had to bring our own silverware. Yeah, plate and silverware. And so I would stand there with him. I'd be like, I'm going in line. But he wouldn't give me the okay. And so I couldn't just go and do it. I mean, I always wondered what would happen if I would have just done it. But I always looked for the okay. I was little, like 3 or 4. And I'm standing there and I'm like, I'm ready to go. I can just do my big boy plate, and get it. And every time he would stand and hold my hand and say, no, we're going to wait till the end. And I grew up. I didn't realize what a big
pastoral.
Yeah, I didn't realize what a big lesson is. I talked to one other pastor's wife about that, and she said, yeah, we had to wait to the end too because we had to make sure there was enough food for everybody else. And so if somebody was going to go out, it was going to be us. But this was Minnesota. There was always enough. And my dad, I don't know if you were taught about potluck rules. Do you have any rules when it comes to a potluck? Buffets, it works the same.
Well, actually, just as a pastor and having been at many potlucks, I've learned that technique of kind of layering the food on your plate.
See, that's a good one.
The plate is only so big, and there's a lot of different things.
See, this is
and
smart.
As the pastor, you have to take a little bit of, Pastor, did you try? Yes, I did.
That would be rude.
So you end up, what you do is you go one layer, and then you just go ahead and start another layer. Well, you need at least chinette. You can't have those cheap paper plates.
Oh, I used to love the ones that had like the wicker underneath them. You'd put your paper plate, and then it would give you the support. But no, I was taught.
Pile it up like this.
Yeah, I was taught food rules when it came to potlucks.
What were they?
Well, the first rule of a potluck is the first time through, you just take a little. And then if you like it, you go back. But see, if it's a group of people who meets regularly for potlucks, like growing up, we had one every Wednesday night. We called it family night at church, and every Wednesday it was there. And so you knew, some people had a set thing they brought every week.
So and you
knew it.
Great big.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Well, and there were certain things that were better than others.
Well, that's always true.
But
of course, since this is Minnesota, all these various things were, I believe the proper terminology is hot dish.
Yeah, we didn't eat casseroles. Still to this day, if somebody says casserole, I don't like it.
Well, you just translate it
into
your language.
I'm not going to
hot dish.
No, I'm going to say I'm not going to eat that because casserole doesn't sound appetizing. But a hot dish, I'll pretty much eat anything. If it's got tuna noodle, I'll eat that. If it's got hamburger and rice, I'll eat that too. You can put anything and call it a hot dish, and I'm pretty happy with it. Okay. My grandma had a different word for, she would call it slimgullion. But that was just kind of weird. That was her word for, hot dish.
No kidding, really?
Yeah, but
that's a new one for me.
Well, and then I went and served in Fargo, and they had some slimgullion feed. I think it was the Kiwanis, and so I was like, that wasn't just a made-up word. That was like a word that other people knew. See, in my family, we had, made-up words. Like hot dish is a made-up word, but everybody knows it.
Well, everyone that with any kind of Lutheran connection to Minnesota.
That's right. Do you have a favorite hot dish? As I do, a wild rice. If it's got wild rice in it, that means you're Minnesota. It's got a little hamburger. It's got a little wild rice in it. It's got some spices. It's a little aromatic, and you can, really filling and warm in the winter. I think it was like 30 below back in northern Minnesota the other day. Man, I was happy to live in San Diego.
Well, I didn't know we were going this direction, but I actually do.
I don't think anybody knew we were going this direction.
I do have a favorite hot dish. And
yes!
Because, see, this comes from my wife's side of the family.
Well, I was hoping you were going to tell me it came from a church cookbook and you could quote it and say, we could put a little thing along the bottom of there. And can you attribute it to anybody?
Well, actually, the way this dish came to be.
Ooh. Way this dish came to be.
When my wife's parents were missionaries in Tanzania, they had an African cook, and
that could go one of two ways.
I don't know what dish it was that my mother-in-law was trying to explain to this lady, how to make it, but what she ended up with was over a bed of rice. You have ground beef with lots of curry and some peanuts and some kind of shaved carrots, and there's other stuff in it too, but that's basically what I remember.
Peanuts and hamburger and rice.
And the Swanson family always called this African hot dish because my mother-in-law continued to make this after they came back to the United States, and
Are peanuts a big African thing?
Ground nuts in Tanzania, yeah.
Ground nuts.
Yeah.
Not just peanuts?
Well, it's the same thing, but they call them ground nuts.
Oh, a peanut is a ground nut.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this.
So, see, now you learned something. But no, when this happened fairly early on to my introduction to my wife's family. I was informed that I would be served African hot dish.
What color is African hot dish?
Well, it's
rice color, like white.
No, well, the rice is
white.
It's like ground beef with a bunch of curry in it. So
the curry would make it maybe a
reddish
little bit
brown.
Yeah. That would color everything.
It's good. It's hot.
It's good.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to have it sometime.
Man, I don't know if I can handle that.
Wow. Then we really would be the Red and Link of Lutheran podcasts. We'd be sitting here eating African hot dish.
Well, see, one of my favorites is, because in the Midwest, everything basically is kind of potluck. And so even like funeral luncheons, because it was a full luncheon. Here out in California, we just have coffee and cookies usually. Yeah. But it was a full luncheon back. My parents would tell me, and the favorite thing I'd ever heard of that the ladies would make in the kitchen, potato chip sandwiches. Open face white bread.
Open face potato chip.
Butter.
Yeah, because you don't want to. You want to leave the potato chips in there.
Isn't that what makes it even? No, you smash them down. So you got a white piece of Wonder Bread with some butter on it. And then you just smash the potato chips into, that kind of nice crumbly
kind of an
thing,
acquired
and then
taste,
you put it on there. Well, it was poor people who didn't have much, and so this is kind of the basic staples of life: a potato and a bread. White bread too. It's going to be wheat bread and butter. Those three things, they used what they had. They created a delicacy, and you try it, and you're like, it's not really super delicious, but white bread and potato chips on their own are good, and a little butter. That combination there. You might try it. You might like it.
Well, on the day that we have African hot dish here for the premise, we'll do a peanut. We'll do a
Is there any other lessons that you've learned, like the lesson I learned from my father about that leaders eat last? Leaders eat last, and that since he was the pastor, he was the leader, he was going to give everyone else the honor. And it's interesting, when I went on a pilgrimage to India, it was a pilgrimage, a mission trip, whatever you want to call it. I went there to tour, but I also went there to talk with people who were church planners. And one of the things I told them over and over again as I spoke to different groups was, when you eat, always eat last. It's even what I think about, like in communion. Do you commune first or do you commune last?
I do, actually.
See, you get it wrong.
Yeah, well,
I didn't realize you got it wrong.
I'm just following Laura's agenda. That's
Right, you want to set the good example. So
agenda for the German pronunciation.
Really, I like that. But any lessons you spiritual lessons you've learned?
Spiritual lessons about food. Actually, what springs to mind about that is actually something about Lent. Because we're right here just before Lent, and the place that I served in Chicago, Lent was basically the passage from the big party on Shrove Tuesday, which was
yeah. See, I didn't grow up with. Did you eat pancakes on Shrove?
No. This was a huge potluck of all different kinds. When I came out here and they said, "Oh, we have a pancake supper on Shrove Tuesday," I said, okay, because the place I served, there was one guy who made this incredible gumbo every year, and there's all these. I
think that was a Chicago food.
It's a Southern food.
It
was a feast of rich foods, just like Isaiah 25.
That's
and that led us into Lent. And then that season of fasting and discipline ended with this great big party after midnight, after the Easter Vigil, where once again, we'd have the potluck of all these
a big spread,
all these good things that you had been, or some of us had been, denying ourselves, during Lent. And we'd have this great big...
Really pig out for Jesus. Yeah, that's a pig out for Jesus.
Well, pig out for the risen Jesus.
I like this as a celebration. And it can't be a feast or a festival or a party without food. Some great food. I think there is a lot to learn that, in a potluck we're celebrating.
Lutherans love to eat.
I have a friend who calls it eating for Jesus.
Well, one of the things that I've learned as a pastor, and I'm sure you've learned too, is if you're trying to get people to come to an event or a special service or something, if there is a meal connected to it, you'll have about double the people that you would have if there is no meal connected to it.
Yeah, but for me, there's a little bit. I want to be, we're pastors and we're trying to share a little bit of, what goes on behind the scenes a little bit with people here. But
not all that much.
Well, no, I mean, I want to be careful how I say this. None of my people in San Diego, but there might have been a few people who I knew what their kitchens looked like. And I steered clear of what they brought. You got to always think about that. Where did this come from? Do they keep a clean kitchen? Do they do? When Jesus talks to the disciples, when he sends them out, I think it's when he sends out the 70, he says, eat whatever they put in front of you.
Yeah, well, he didn't really say check out the kitchen.
He said eat whatever they put in front of you.
You have a completely different approach to pastoral visitation than I do.
You got to eat it.
I've never said, mind if I just...
Oh, you're gonna see it. Oh, you're
kitchen?
Gonna see it. There's a few. There's a few. I had a friend.
I learn something from you every time we do one of these.
I had a friend. Well, it wasn't a he. It was a she. And she used to say, "I wouldn't eat that cat hair casserole."
Oh well, see now
I'm like, well, I don't want to be rude.
We have 2 cats.
See, you've eaten cat hair casserole.
He's deliberately doing this to me.
Are they long hair cats?
They're Siamese cats.
I don't know if that means
that's
long
not
hair or
long
not.
Hair.
Really, that's short hair.
Yep.
Okay.
Just lots of little short hairs.
Well, I think we were a big success with our episode today.
We keep a pretty clean kitchen, though.
Really? So I could eat food from your place?
Those of you who might be wanting to stop by my house and grab a meal there.
I'm a bachelor. Don't come to my place. My kitchen is not.
We only have African hot dish very rarely.
Man.
So, but if you let us know you're coming, we'll put it on for you.
Well, I think it was a big success today. I think we should thank everybody for watching.
Yes, thank you.
We're grateful for this opportunity to talk and to think about life in the church. God bless.
Thanks so much. Blessings. Bye-bye.